Welcome once again to Silverstone. The same sunshine as last week, I'm happy to say, with the same shirt too, so there's obviously a note of suspicion somewhere. But this is the grand finale of the Wheel Series, I'm sorry to say. The main feature, though, is the Multipart Supertruck trophy race. It could be a good one. If you ever needed convincing about the appeal of truck racing, just look at the crowds here. I know the sunshine has a lot to do with it, but in the previous 5 rounds of this championship, the smallest attendance has been so far 55,000, and in Hungary recently the official gate was 120,000, with a few thousand more climbing in or over the fences. To qualify for the main race, the fastest 24 in qualifying went straight through, regardless of their category. Then the next fastest 30 went in for the last chance race, and there were 4 places only from that particular race, so it's obviously going to be a bit cut and thrust. One of those competing in that last chance was Steve Parrish of Royston. Steve, you're heading now into the last chance race, the first 4 to qualify. What will be your tactics be here?
Just to get a decent start, get out in front and hold everyone behind me, because I'm desperate to get in that final. I really am. It's been a big build-up for the weekend. The lads at Mercedes have worked so hard. For them, I want to get in the final. I really do.
But you have had a lot of turbo engine problems. Will it hold up?
I've got everything crossed so I can cross, so I reckon we should be there now, I hope.
But there won't be any 10-second penalties this time, will there?
No, I'll be staying on the tarmac, definitely. I've had enough telling off today. I think that'll do me.
This race also includes the Czechoslovak driver, Jiří Moskal, number 64, former Eastern champion, a man with tremendous experience in events like the Paris-Dakar Rally. Well, this could be a fairly frantic race for him and all the others. Just 4 to count as we join our commentators, Andrew Marriott and Chris Carter.
5 laps then to settle which 4 of these 28 trucks are going to go through. There is number 11, Steve Parrish. Next to him is Jiří Moskal, the top East European truck driver, and they've got an awful lot of work to do. They're away, the lights have changed from red to green, the charge is on, thick black smoke pours out, and out in front goes number 51, Stan Hart. Number 18, Dave Gray, into second place. Clouds of smoke. There's the Mitchell Cots written on the back. Somebody goes straight on.
Yes, Chris, that looked like Alan Hodge to me. He's had a very unhappy weekend, sells trucks in South London, but definitely Team Lucas CAV in the front at the moment. Stan Hart and Dave Gray. And third place, Tony Jenkins, veteran driver, used to race at TT some 30 years ago. And Gray and Hart at the moment. Where's Steve Parrish? Surprised he hasn't come through a little bit. And Parrish is for Jiří Moskal, who you mentioned, in the Czech truck with the Czech tyres, has dropped to about 6th place, but it's very close between the 2 Lucas CAV trucks. We wouldn't have expected them to be in this last chance race, but there they are. Had some problems in practice, that's why they're there. And Parrish looks as if he's trying down the outside now.
And Hart and Gray side by side, with Stan Hart seizing the advantage, but Tony Jenkins beginning to put the pressure on.
Yes, and that second truck has come out of the 300 horsepower class, so really he shouldn't be able to stay with David Gray. David Gray works for Tractors now, a full-time truck racer, but worked for Perkins Engines. He was the European sales manager at one time. And look at the speed of... You've just caught a view then of the speed of Parrish, seems to be catching up, and yes, Parrish is indeed through to third place. A lot of black smoke from one of those trucks, and he could easily be black flagged for that. So it's still Team Lucas CAV in the front, but Parrish pressing hard now.
Stan Hart leads Dave Gray. Out in front, Steve Parrish up into third place. 4th position, Tony Jenkins.
I think Parrish is taking another one.
And Parrish looking for that inside line, changes his mind, or does he, or he's going to be forced into it now, eases off the brakes.
Well, he's had that one penalty.
Absolutely, he's got to be a good boy this time. No more cheating from Mr. Parrish here this afternoon. Stan Hart, Dave Gray, then Steve Parrish and the rest of the pack going through. And sad that the Liaz, that Czechoslovakian truck, isn't at the moment getting up into the top 4. Andrew, it really is quite an interesting venture, is it not?
Yes, it is. It's actually in 6th place, Chris. The team actually do the Paris-Dakar Rally as a factory team. This is, in fact, the Liaz Club. It's a private effort. They've come over here in an old bus. They have no English currency on them at all. They brought all their own beer and their own food. In fact, they threw a party because the one thing they had a lot of was beer, and they threw a party for all the drivers last night.
Well, yes, one of their sponsors is in fact a brewery in Czechoslovakia. As you were saying, it's the Automobile Club at the Liaz factory, and they've just been given all the parts to do it. And I was being told by one of the guys there who used to be very much involved in Czech motorcycle racing that the thing weighs about 6,000 kilos, and they'd like it to be about 900 kilos less, and then it would be competitive.
That yellow truck there is going very well. That's the Volvo of Pascal Robinot. He has been a winner of the Le Mans long-distance truck race. That's interesting. It looks as if Parrish is coming through now.
Well, Parrish needs to finish in the first four, as everybody does, in order to get through.
Well, Chris, there is a promoter's option for the last two places on the grid, so maybe we can fiddle Mr. Parrish into the final, whatever. But now let's just look at that.
And there is Stavros looking for the inside line. He's slotted through many a rider there in his motorcycling days, but a two-wheeled Yamaha is a slightly different kettle of fish to the Mercedes-Benz truck that he's driving.
Yes, it's a little bit wider, isn't it? It's like about 20 times. And I think maybe there's a bit of team orders going on between the Lucas boys. I think they're doing a bit of a job between them, aren't they, on Parrish? Oh, he's going to try and go through the middle of them. No, he isn't. Going down the outside of one, under the Dunlop Bridge. I think he's got second slot, and he's going to take... No.
Neatly cut in between the two. That put an end to their team riding tactics. Also been watching too much motorcycle speed, and Tony Jenkins goes through into third place. So suddenly all the efforts of Dave Gray and Stan Hart to keep it 1 and 2 for them has ended. Parrish is through into third place, and Tony Jenkins goes through into third spot. It's Stan Hart who leads, and Parrish pulls out of the slipstream. Remember, they detuned this little device in second place in order to try to make it reliable. I wonder how quick it would go if it were on full welly, Andrew.
Well, it doesn't go too quick at all. It keeps blowing up if they do that. With one parked on the side, didn't see who that was, and I think Steve is going to do it now, isn't he?
Looking for the inside line, and the nice tight line through Beckett's. And is that the Liaz there?
No, that's the Finnish Sisu truck. Raymond Soderman at the wheel, the Formula 3 racer, doing a typical Formula 3 tactic. That's the first time that truck's been seen in a European Championship race. The Sisu factory builds specialist vehicles in Finland. And let's look at this.
Parrish leads. Steve Parrish out in front ahead of Stan Hart.
Third, Tony Jenkins still.
And it looks as though we've lost Dave Gray.
We have indeed.
And the Liaz is up into fourth place.
Yes, Moscow, as I said, done very well in the Paris-Dakar Rally. 2 years ago, should have won it, was leading the truck section by a long way. On the last day, he got stuck in a very narrow section and actually lost the leader, having led it for about 2 weeks. He was pretty sick about that. He was third last year and won the standard truck category. And there, we will probably see in a second a very disconsolate David Gray climbing out of the cab.
In the meantime, Steve Parrish sets the pace, but he's under pressure from Stan Hart. Stan Hart not letting him having all his own way, Andrew.
Well, I think Steve probably knows that he's got to race this truck in the final. He wants to conserve it. They've got to get the truck ready for the final. So I think he's just winning the race at the slowest possible speed. I think that's his strategy, so that the truck will be really quick in the final. Meanwhile, Stan Hart is going for broke, and we've had a little look down the inside then. Stan Hart is pushing out a lot of black smoke, actually, which could see in black flag. That's one of the problems with truck racing. There's the smoke screen, where you're seeing, Chris, doesn't do the television any good. They've really been stamping on it here, but at the German race at the Nürburgring about 3 weeks ago, it was absolutely disgusting. And in fact, the Green Party even got upset about it. Pascal Robinot, who we saw briefly in fourth place, coming into the pits. That's a shame. Good little private team, that, actually. As I said, they won the Le Mans truck race a couple of years ago, and rather different sort of format to this race, but he's out of the action.
Perhaps you could explain why there is this black smoke, Andrew.
Well, they're basically over-fueling, Chris. They're putting a lot of fuel through the engine. These things are only doing about 3 miles to the gallon. It's a cheap way of getting more power, but it's not a very effective way. And you see the really well set-up trucks don't smoke like that. And we are trying to stamp on it, and it seems to be working, but certainly Stan Hart's is a bit of a smoky Joe. That is the truck that we used to call Dirty Gertie, of course, last year.
Oh, yes.
Driven by Mel Bacon, Dirty Gertie number 30. Remember that one from last year?
Has she become respectable?
Well, she has. She's gone from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, and she's had about 2 feet taken out of the chassis, and it's very difficult to tell her. And of course, it is the most famous racing truck, the first truck, British truck, ever to take part in a race. And as I say, Mel Bacon used to race it. Jean-Louis Schletter, who's driven Formula 1 cars, has raced it. All sorts of people. It seemed to be a bit hard on the brakes then, but, well, Dirty Gertie, number, whatever it is, through that smoke, 51, still going pretty well.
I suppose someone of my size shouldn't actually say anything about Dirty Gertie having a couple of feet removed from her chassis.
No, that's right, because you can do with that. And there is Tony Jenkins, I said, veteran former Isle of Man TT racer, and Jerry Moscow giving him quite a hard time. Lovely to see Jerry going so well. And I think that's David Parsons there just pulling in the group.
It is indeed, yeah, number 93, David Parsons. So the last chance being just too much for 1 or 2 people, and I think we're now out on the final lap. 4 laps completed. This is the 5th and final circuit, and Steve Parrish is going to make it through to the big race. I think he's going to have to drive a little bit harder in that big race.
Chris, I think he's got brake problems. Look at that smoke coming off the back. I think he's really cooked those back brakes.
Well, is Parrish going to struggle to head this lot home? He needs to finish in the first 4 to make it through to the final. Well, it's been a dramatic weekend in many senses for Steve. All sorts of problems in races. He's blown up motors. He's gone out on the warm-up laps of some races. He had a 4th place taken away, of course, because he went to cut the track at the chicane and had a 10-second penalty and slipped from 4th to 8th. Now, is he going to limp home? Are those brakes going to see him all the way around on this 5th and final circuit?
My guess, Chris, is he will. Certainly Steve needs this. Mitchell Cox, who is a worldwide transport organisation, has just been taken over by David Abel. They need it.
Just look at behind there, though, side by side. The Lears having just to tuck in behind the scamble of Tony Jenkins. But the Lears actually showing some paces, and I think they're probably right. If they lost that 900 kilos, it would be quite a competitive truck.
Certainly would, Chris. I think maybe Stan Hart's got a penalty on our readout on the screen, so Stan Hart may only take 4th place. We'll have to watch that one. Still, see that whitish smoke coming off the back of that truck. He has definitely got a brake problem. When he finished 2nd in the Lucas race at Brands Hatch in the spring, he finished on the start line, across the start line, and the brakes caught fire. There was flames and they had to be put out as he was getting his victory guard.
I'm going to say it's sort of black smoke for diesel, white smoke for brakes, and blue smoke when they're on fire.
Quite a lot of smoke coming out of their ears at times, I think, Chris, as well. Well, it looks as if Steve Parrish is going to have his first win of the weekend.
Well, that's a rare treat for Steve Parrish. Even when he was racing, he didn't do that very often.
Led the British Grand Prix, of course, on a bike, and wins here today in a truck.
So Steve Parrish, the winner. Stan Hart takes the checkered flag in 2nd place, but we're not convinced that he's going to finish 2nd in the race. We think Tony Jenkins, who was chased over the line by Jerry Moscal, will in fact be 2nd, and Stan Hart with a 10-second penalty will take 4th place and get through to the big race, the main event.
So confirmation there then of the fortunate 4 to qualify for the final, well led by Steve Parrish, with Tony Jenkins, Yuri Moskal and Stan Hart coming in his wake. Actually, it turned out to be the top 6 because the promoter said they had 2 spare places. So Rob Williams of Chingford, Essex and Reg Hopkins of Bristol go through as well.